Hey everyone, I know it's been a while since I last posted. It's been about a month or so. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I just wanted to take a minute to make a quick little video and kind of talk about some of the stuff that's been going on with the bikes, as well as do a little information video on buying a used bike, and I'll get to why that is here in a second. I got rid of my BMX bike. The reason for that being is when I was younger, I'd say probably about 12 years old, 12 to 13 years old. I actually broke both of my legs on a BMX bike. I was BMX racing and I came off like a jump funny and landed, like my feet slid off the pedals when I landed, and the momentum of the crash put stress fractures in both of my knees. I had to go through about a year of rehab and I thought I'd healed up fine. But I still kind of progressed into riding mountain bikes just because they were a lot easier on my body with the suspension and bigger tires to suck up more of the bumps. So I decided to get a BMX bike a few years later just to get back into it, the freestyle aspect of it, not the racing. And I really thought that my body could handle it, and I thought that my body had healed up. But I was starting to have really bad knee pains and knee aches again, and I noticed that after long days of out riding, especially at the park where I was landing on concrete, I was really just starting to really hurt, and it would keep me off the bike for a couple days before I was able to ride again. So I made the decision to let that bike go. It really sucked. I took a huge loss on it. I put a lot of time and a lot of money into that bike, and some things just had to be done. It was sitting in the garage collecting dust, so that really wasn't making a whole lot of sense. Sorry, my dog's in the background. The Specialized I'm still working on. I really had hoped to have it done by now. I don't want to talk too much about it. It's actually hanging on the wall behind me. But we're getting there on it. It should be done probably in the next month or two. If you haven't seen the other videos on that, feel free to subscribe and check in my videos. I actually have a playlist of the build that I've done so far from the time I found it to what it's at after I'd done the paint. So one of the things I wanted to talk about in this video was buying a used bike and sort of things to look at and kind of what to watch out for when buying one. So main thing to look at, I would say, is if you've decided that you want to look at the bike and you have an interest in it, be conscious of how kind of the person's acting. See if they're really trying to push to get rid of the bike, or see if they're acting kind of funny. That could be tells of it being sold. Assuming that the person rightfully owns the bike, giving them the benefit of the doubt, because obviously we don't want to think that every bike that's being sold is stolen. But that is a very real possibility. Bike theft's a huge thing. But getting away from that, assuming that everything's good with the person selling the bike, a huge thing you want to look at is the frame. So components can be replaced, but the one thing that really can't, is impossible to be replaced unless it's steel and you can weld the frame, is a crack in the frame, especially if it's carbon. If you have a deep scratch or anything in a carbon frame, it's pretty much trash. So just make sure that you really give the bike a good look over. If the person's being weird about you test riding it, that could be a huge red flag that there's something wrong with it. The other thing is look at the components that's on it, look at the price that the person's selling it for, and use Bike Blue Book. You can put in the bike and it'll tell you based off the condition of it, kind of like Kelly Blue Book for a car, what it's worth. So look at that and judge what the person's asking for it and what the value of it actually is. And then probably the third and biggest thing to look out for is what's going to need replaced on it. So if you go and you do a test ride on it and the gears are shifting really bad, I mean, yeah, you could just tune the derailleur, but if you happen to realize that it has a bent derailleur hanger once you get home or something like that, now you just got a nice fancy bike that you're having to put money into. So those are all things to kind of look out for and just try to figure out before you buy a bike, and try to get an idea of if you need to replace components, like if the bike's in perfect condition when you test ride it, overlook this. But if it's something that like you ride it and you can definitely tell that it's going to need work, try to kind of do like a mental note of the estimates of what it would cost to fix it versus what they're asking for it. And then either A, try to talk them down on it, or B, just move on because it's really not worth it. If you have to buy a bike for $500 and then turn right around and drop $200 into it, a full tune up and maybe a new rear derailleur, it would probably in the long run would have been better off to just hold off and either buy something new or look for a better used deal. But that aside, assuming you find a great deal and assuming the bike's in good working order, great, that's awesome. But I wanted to show you kind of what's making me talk about this and what brought this up. All right, so this is what brought up that conversation. This is a used bike I just picked up Friday, actually. It is a 2018 Kona Blast. This isn't going to be a bike check video. I'm going to wait, put some miles on it, and then come back and do a bike check video because I already know there's a couple things on it I want to change. But I got this bike for a really good deal, honestly. It was kind of ironic. Literally the day I sold my BMX bike, a friend of mine hit me up. He had this bike that he had barely ridden and he was trying to get rid of it. I had really been kind of in the market even before I was thinking about selling my BMX bike and getting a second mountain bike. I wanted one as a loaner, and I also wanted one that was more like comfortable and capable for like long single track or like long gravel rides even. My adventure bike is kind of like roaded out right now, so it's not really good for gravel. And then my Raleigh bike, like my actual true mountain bike that I take to like the trails and stuff, is a 1x up front. It's not bad. I love it. It's definitely capable of doing long rides. It's just this bike's a 3x up front, and it's got a lot nicer components on it actually. So it should be a lot like more comfortable ride, especially for putting in the long miles. So yeah, I know I haven't posted in a while. I'm gonna try and get back and start posting more often. The weather's been really bad and I've just had a lot going on. Please subscribe and like this video, and feel free to follow me on Instagram. I'll post my screen name for that down below. And I hope you guys have a good day. Have fun riding.